Harry Houdini, the Great and Powerful. Chapter 15. Sabotage on the Manhattan Bridge. Houdini attempts to jump off the Manhattan Bridge. Manhattan, Equestria. Human illusionist Harry Houdini has announced that in preparation for his show for Princess Celestia, he plans to do a public stunt by jumping off the Manhattan Bridge at 11 o'clock. Mr. Houdini has asked for help from the city's police to restrain him with cuffs, chains, and heavy weights before being plunged into the waters. At first, we outright refused, Officer Lyabine told the press. We expressed our concerns for doing something as foolish as this, along with the risks it presents. Mr. Houdini then told us that he'd done this thing before in fast current rivers in the middle of the winter. We ended up making a compromise. We will allow him to make the jump, but only under the condition that the depth he's diving into is at least 200 feet. We have a diving team ready if something went wrong. Mr. Houdini declined to make a comment. The public escape is to promote Harry's new show at the Griffin Dome Theater at 7 tonight. Tickets for the event are priced at 10 bits for adults, 5 for children. According to Mr. Houdini's philosophy, if you post a notice in a newspaper that says you're about to do something insane, hundreds of thousands will come to see you do it. Before 11, crowds swarmed the only bridge connected to the city island to the mainland, all watching the chained-up individuals standing on the railing. From young fillies to old stallions, the swarm of equines were packed tight. Some of the officers hung around the edges, making a few last-minute checks. Harry stood in his blue swimsuit, his front arms held up to showcase the 3 heavy-duty cuffs that had been placed on him. Attached to his arms were 2 30-pound balls, while a shackle around his neck was connected to his ankles with chains. Among the crowd was Trixie, who was reading the article in the paper that she knew she had to see this stunt for herself. The blue mare, trying to get as close to the human as possible, was landed her right in front of a police line that was trying to keep the spectators back. "Thank you for coming, folks," Houdini announced to the crowd. "I appreciate you all for coming out here to see an old man jump to his death." His morbid joke got a few chuckles. "For those who don't know, I am promoting my upcoming show tonight at 7. I am about to attempt to jump into 700 feet of freezing water from a height of at least 60 feet. As you can see, I have been restrained with heavy-duty chains, cuffs, light-circuit matter. For those you weak hearts, I advise you to look away. There's still a chance I might not make it." With that, he crouched down before springing off into the dark blue waters below with a splash. From where Trixie was standing, she noticed something odd as he hopped off the stone railing. An orange aura permeated the spot he was previously standing, levitating a small piece of twisted metal attached to a piece of fabric. "Ha! I knew it!" She looked to the side to find Hoofcuff in the crowd. Red Unicorn levitated the piece of metal over to himself. "A lockpick! That's how he gets out!" "What are you doing?" The blue mission pushed her way to her rifle. "Where did you get that?" "He's a fake," he said. "See? I knew I noticed something strange when he was walking around. This thing was at the bottom of his hind leg." Trixie looked at the pick before a look of realization crossed her face. Her rival had just taken the only means of escape the human had, and now he was sinking even further underwater. "You idiot!" she shoved him over. "Do you realize what you've just done? He's locked up right now and sinking to the bottom. Give me that!" She snatched the pick from him and galloped to the guardrail. "Oh, I can't believe I'm doing this," she thought as a sense of vertigo hit her. "Hey, stop!" she heard a police pony yelled out. The thoughts of her new friend underwater, and all the times she was called a villain, rang through her head. Those thoughts motivated to throw her off her starry cape and hat, or causing to pick at her hoof and jumping into the icy waters below. She briefly heard screams coming from above, but that was quickly replaced with the feeling of her hind legs hitting the icy water, and a sudden drop in temperature. She fought off the urge to scream from shock, quickly opening her eyes and spotting a blurry figure moving around beneath her. Without thinking, she drove further downwards as quickly as she could. When the water got too dark, she lit her horn for some light. Sure enough, she spotted the struggling human who was searching his legs for a pick. She started to feel pressure on her lungs, but forced herself to keep swimming until she reached Harry. Even in their blurry vision, they both took notice of each other. Harry quickly grabbed the pick and began to work on the cuffs and the locks that bound him. With that done, and her lungs desperately screaming for air, Trixie swam upwards as fast as she could. She managed to break through the surface with a large gap. "Ma'am!" a Pegasus officer called out. "Are you alright?"
"It's Houdini!" she called. "He's been sabotaged!"
"What?"
"Hoof cuff!" She pointed to the bridge. "Took away his only method of escape. I don't know if he'll be able to make it out in time."
She saw the officer's face turn pale before flying over to a nearby boat. "You're down there," he told the diving ponies. "He's in trouble. Go get—" Before he could finish his sentence, a figure breached the water's surface a few yards away from the blue mare. A hand with a pair of cuffs rose above Harry's head in triumph. "Mr. Houdini!" The officer flew over to him. "Mr. Houdini, are you all right?" The human escape artist was visibly out of breath. "Ugh, the huss," he managed, holding up a pair of dripping cuffs. "Nothing could kill the great Houdini." With the human and the unicorn fished out of the freezing sea and being taken care of by a nearby boat, the Pegasus officer listened as Trixie explained what had been both to him and Harry.
"This is just a new low for him. Being humiliated the other day was one thing, but taking away his only way to escape a deadly trick like that's too cruel, not even for me."
"I just thought that it fell off," the human said. "Even before I jumped, I knew something was off. It wasn't until I was under and panicking that I saw her swimming down with it." "I see." Officer jotted down their testimonies before putting his notepad away. "Rest assured that Hoofcuff will be prosecuted for this. Although neither of you exactly told me what he took that made it difficult for you to escape."
"He had a little hidden lockpick," Trixie explained. "Once I saw it, I realized what was happening. Trixie felt it was necessary to jump in and help Mr. Houdini before he drowned."
"A lockpick? Where did you hide a lockpick? We searched you before you jumped." "Sorry," Harry smiled. "Can't tell you that." The officer nodded, turned to Trixie. "Miss Lilmoon, that was a very courageous thing you did."
Trixie shook her head. "I didn't really think it through. I just realized what was happening and decided that something had to be done."
"But it was that quick thinking that saved my life back there." Harry patted her on the back. Soon their boat came to the harbor, and the pair stopped off the dock. "How about I give you a top couple of tickets to my next show?" Harry told the officer. "I really appreciate your help in saving my neck back there." The Pegasus stallion shook his head. "No, thank you. I'll still be on duty by the time your show starts. Meantime, we still have some pony that's in need for questioning." "Fair enough." Harry nodded. "Thanks again for all that you've done." The mare finished drying herself off with the towel she was given. She began walking away until Mr. Houdini stopped her. "Where are you going?"
"Trixie really needs a break," she told him, covering her limp mane with a towel. "I really need some time to sort out what just happened. I mean, you almost died back there, as did I."
"I've heard countless stories about heroes doing what you just did."
"I'm no hero. I'm just a magician."
She turned to walk away, but the giant quickly followed beside her. "Why not? You saved me."
"I wasn't thinking."
She cut him off. "Yet here we are," Houdini pointed out. "It doesn't change what happened, and regardless of what you think, I have to thank you for what you did."
She paused to look up at him. "You don't even know me that well."
"No," he replied, "but I do know a good soul when I see one. One that's really enough to try and make a friend out of." Another pause on Trixie's part.
"Really? You want to be my friend? Sorry, but I think I need some time to slow down for a bit."
"Fair enough." Harry nodded. "I expect you're still coming to tonight's show."
"Indeed."
The mayor turned to exit the docks.
"If only to see what other clever tricks you're capable of."
Chapter 16. The Milk Can Escape. The Griffith was said to be the largest theater in Equestria, housing about 1,000 seats and covered with strong cast-iron dome. It was the kind of place where circuses, stunt devils, actors, and magicians performed once their names were noticed by the city. As Trixie entered the enormous stadium-like theater, memories came back to her about her own triumph, gaining her fame and performing in this very place. She sat on the second of 3 balconies that overlooked the Titanic stage. large enough to house several apartments. Above her were 6 banners attached to the interior of the domed ceiling. 3 of them held the equestrian national shield, while others bared the initials H8. Looking around, the mayor saw that the seats were almost as packed as ponies trying to find a place to take their seats. She also took notice of the box seats closest to the stage, draped in blue fabric and bearing the royal family seal. They were surrounded by solar guards, all standing at attention. They had been standing there ever since the princess had come early. Then, at exactly 7, a voice was heard over the loudspeaker. All rise for Her Majesty, Diarch of the Sun, Solar Mother of Equestria, Princess Celestia. Every pony in the theater rose as a spotlight shone upon the royal box, revealing the white alicorn herself. There was applause and wishes of welcome that greeted her as she smiled and waved to her subjects. And now, the Gryffindor Theater is proud to present Master of Mystery, Emperor of Escape, King of Huffcuffs himself, Mayors and Gentlecoats. Please welcome the one and only, the great Harry Houdini. He paused in applause when the lanky human walked out from behind the red curtain. Wearing the same silk scarlet robe Trixie saw him perform in several nights ago. Not only that, but the same timepiece was brought on stage as well. But unlike that night where she saw him first perform, Trixie saw that he was holding a small blue object. Immediately, she recognized it, knowing that the theater handed small pins out to performers to help project their voices over the loudspeaker. Such a thing was necessary in a theater as massive as the Griffin's Dome. Good evening, Mayors and Gentlecoats. Harry turned to Princess Celestia and took a small bow. A good evening to you, Your Majesty. I must say, you have no idea how refreshing it is to see someone of a similar size. The audience and Princess laughed. Now then, before we begin, Harry slowly walked over to the oversized stopwatch. Let's take a moment to talk about the mind. I believe we can all agree that it is such a marvelous thing. With it we can read, write, create masterpieces, even dream up impossible ideas that no one else would even think of. It is also because of the mind that one can do wondrous and amazing things. Everything you're about to see, Mayors and Gentlecoats, commenter and royalty alike, is the extent of the potential of the mind's true capabilities, or whether with a horn or lack thereof. For although I may be 50 years of age, do not be fooled by my appearance. I have exercised my own mentality to pull off the impossible. So be prepared to be exhilarated, mystified, and captivated as I push myself beyond the limits of the mind. Case in point. He put his hand on the clock. I have with me the largest stopwatch in the world. For my first trick, let me pose a question. How long can one hold their breath? The curtain partly opened, revealing 2 men carrying a milk can, being careful not to spill the liquid inside. Meanwhile, a woman in a circus costume entered from stage right, taking her place beside the watch. Harry walked back to the center of the stage. This milk can is filled to the brim with water, and if the gentleman would please turn around, you see there are no hidden panels, nor a trapdoor on its bottom. As he spoke, the men carrying the can did as they were told, turning the milk jug in place before bringing it to Houdini. Since we've established that it is genuine, Harry said, just rubbing one until he was drowned to a blue swimsuit before stepping into the can. Then let's do a little experiment. On the count of 3, I'd like the audience to take a deep breath, and then try to hold it as long as you can. Is everyone ready? You in the audience, are you ready? When I count to 3, I want you guys to also hold your breath while I read this. And maybe in the comments, I want you guys to write down how long was your time holding your breath. Ready? Count with Houdini. 1, 2, 3. With that, Houdini submerged himself into the tight space of the watery can, while the female assistant pushed the button on the stopwatch to start it. Like the last time, Trixie saw and heard nearly every pony take a deep breath, trying to hold it while the timepiece echoed through the theater. He tried to wait for Harry to reappear. Once they noticed he still wasn't surfacing, many let their breath go. By a minute and 20 seconds, Harry's head popped back up. "Pretty difficult, isn't it?" he asked, his hair dripping wet. "No. Before I dive back in, I shall be placed in handcuffs." His assistants came out with a pair of handcuffs and a large padlock lid. "I will also be locked inside with this lid. While I'm inside, I will be concealed by a large circular curtain, and my lovely assistants shall time me." His assistants started to cuff him. "Now, I should inform the audience that I have an assistant backstage with an axe, in the event that something goes wrong. Because let's face it, there's always a chance." Once he was ready, Harry looked at the ticking clock. When its arm reached the 60-second mark, Houdini took a deep breath and dove back in. His assistants quickly placed the lid on the top of the can and began locking the padlocks. A large curtain descended from above, and the assistant flipped the card, marking the time.
"One,"
she declared. Although Trixie had seen this before, she had to admit that the trick was a little exciting, as well as dangerous considering the size of the milk can. She noticed that it seemed just barely big enough for the human to squeeze into.
2 minutes.
Trixie noted that, similar to what happened last time, the audience started to get worried. As the seconds took on, the sense of dread grew stronger.
3 minutes.
Even Celestia herself took a look of worry peeking through her normally calm face. "What's going on? Is he okay?"
4 minutes.
The assistant sounded a bit worried herself. Soon history repeated itself, as 1,000 voices rang throughout the theater concerned for the magician. Even the assistant stared at concern, seemingly looking worried that something had gone wrong. Suddenly, an assistant came rushing from backstage with a bright red axe. He raised it above his head. The yellow curtain drew back. There, on the top of the can, triumphantly stood none other than Harry Houdini, still dripping wet with his arms crossed and a pair of unlocked cuffs in his hands. The audience applauded wildly, amazed to see that the locks on the lid were still secured. Chapter 17. The Fantasy Elephant and the Brick Wall. About 5 minutes later, the stage was reset for the next trick. While Houdini excused himself, the curtain opened up to reveal a tall structure. The audience saw a massive platform with a ramp leading up to a flat surface. Each of the 4 corners stood a post, each holding up a velvet canopy and red curtains draped over the sides.
"What is he planning to do now?"
Trixie shared the same thoughts as the rest of the audience, with even Celestia gazing at the structure in curiosity. As they waited, the blue unicorn noticed 2 things. First was a muffled noise that seemed to be coming from behind the curtain in the background. It sounded like some pony was stacking stones, or something else that had caused some sort of scraping. The other was that across the Solar Princess stood Houdini's wife. Instead of being in a circus costume like she expected, Bess wore a black dress with a red bead shawl. Her hair was still short and wavy, and underneath her makeup, she seemed thoughtful of the stage's unique setup. A spotlight illuminated the left side of the stage as Harry walked out, now fully dressed with the speaker stone pinned to his tie. He strode out to the audience's applause. "During my time here in Ecclesia, I had discovered something that caught my interest ever since I first arrived," he said. "That discovery, as strange as it might sound to you all, is that you ponies possess magic that my kind has written off as impossible. The ponies of Earth possess the strength of stone, and the ponies of the sky have been granted the ability to fly into heavens above. Those gifted with horns have powers that are only limited to their imaginations. In fact, many of you here might say the ability to levitate objects and teleport are limited to unicorns." Trixie nodded to herself, inquiring where she was going with this. "Then I must tell you, mares and gentlecoats, that this is simply not true." This statement got the whole theater whispering to one another. For while it was obvious that I was not born with a horn, I have spent 50 years of my life perfecting my mind to make the impossible possible. I can hear you wondering how I am able to prove such a bold declaration. I would be happy more than to demonstrate." with a hand raised above his head. He gestured to the hidden backstage. May I introduce to you, by my own Manehattan City Zoo, Lily the Elephant. On stage right, a pale gray tusked elephant was easily towered Houdini, and his troops slowly crossed the stage as the crowd respectfully stomped their hooves. Leading the elephant was a violet Pegasus with a blonde mane and was wearing a dark green uniform. Lily here is 9 feet tall, weighing just a bit over 5 tons, Harry told his audience as he walked around the passing elephant. Truly a marvel to behold. She was rescued from poachers in the grassy plains of Zebraca, who I am told wanted her ivory tusks. Thankfully, she now resides in the sanctuary of your city's zoo. As the audience continued applauding, the Pegasus held Lily up the ramp and onto the center of the canopy structure. But now, Meisenstein's allegiance. On the pattern of my red trained mind, I will make this beauty vanish before your very eyes, causing her to suddenly reappear back at the zoo. Curtains from all sides of the structure were closed by the humans, with a little help from a few Pegasi, till all 4 sides were drawn, hiding the elephant from view. With Harry now standing at center stage, he closed his eyes, put one hand on his chest, while his other was in front of his face, with his fingertips placed on his forehead. Taking several deep breaths, he slowly turned around. The audience was captivated and watched his every move, wondering how he would make the large animal disappear. He was now facing the enclosed structure. He slowly raised his hands before giving a sudden sharp and then gestured with both his hands, signaling his assistants to open the curtains. 3 sides of the canopy were pulled aside, revealing the enclosed space devoid of any elephant. Gasps were collectively voiced, Pony's jaws dropping to the floor with eyes wide open. Without a puff of smoke or flash of light, the fun creature had just disappeared in front of a crowd of at least 1,000 ponies. The silence was quickly broken by thunderous applause.
Or something that claims do not have magic. That was a really good trick,
Trixie thought.
I should really figure out how he did it.
Thank you very much. Harry took a bow, while his assistants pulled the tall structure onto stage. Making an elephant vanish is quite difficult for someone lacking a horn sticking out of their forehead. How about I do something a bit harder? The green curtain was suddenly pulled away, revealing several construction ponies fencing a brick wall. Confusion spread across the audience's faces as the last pieces of brick and mortar were placed. As you can see, Houdini pointed to those construction ponies, that the show was going on. These brick masons have spent the past hour quietly erecting this brick wall, doing their best not to interrupt the show. What an achievement. The audience applauded. The construction ponies took their leave. As they left the stage, one of Harry's assistants came on and brought him a mallet. Taking the hammer into his hands, Houdini turned to the audience. As you can see, this wall, he hit the dry brick wall with the mallet, is completely solid on all sides. He walked around to all the sides, smacking them with the mallet. This wall has been built right into the very back of the stage, so it should be impossible for me to go around it without any of you seeing me. His assistants took the heavy mallet away, leaving only Houdini and the wall on stage. I may have made a full-grown elephant vanish, but my next trick will show you that I can use my mind to walk through this very wall. The trick spread throughout the crowd. Trixie glanced over at Celestia, noticing she was craning her neck to get a closer view, but her expression was otherwise unreadable. As Harry went into a meditative state, 4 female assistants joined him on stage. They dragged out 2 flat piles on wheels that had been painted to look like bushes. As he showed off the size of the dividers, Houdini slowly made his way toward the brick structure, before the pieces had hidden him away from the audience's view. When the panels were wheeled away, the ponies were surprised to see that Houdini suddenly appeared on the other side of the wall. They wanted to see that again. Yes! Like before, the human meditated. The assistants blocked the audience's view for a moment, before Harry reappeared on the other side. Chapter 18. The Bullet Catch. After an approval by the audience's host, Harry Houdini again excused himself from the stage, as his assistants and stage ponies alike worked on something curious. Bags and wheelbarrows of old sand were dumped in front of the brick wall, forming a man around it. He worked quickly to pile the sand around until it was 2/3 of the wall's height. Once that was done, a pedestal and a painted bullseye were placed directly before the wall mound of sand. While this was all being set up, Trixie looked over to the box where Houdini's wife was sitting in. She had a hand covering her mouth in dread, seemingly knowing what the next trick entailed. Harry walked himself onto the stage, holding a long and oddly shaped stick made out of wood and metal. "May I have your attention, please, Miss and gentlemen?" Houdini declared to his audience. "The trick you are about to witness is something that, for a long time, I have deemed too dangerous to attempt. I have done many dangerous things in my career. I have been tossed into rivers in chains and handcuffs, buried alive, trials in a submerged crate, strapped onto a lit cannon, and swallowed by a whale, and even locked in an airtight vault. And yet, all of those are nothing compared to what you are about to see." He then held up a strange stick for all to see. With the help of the stage lights, Trixie examined a small mechanism that looked similar to the triggering mechanism of a crossbow. "I have been informed that Equestria has yet to invent a device such as this," Harry continued. "I hold in my hands an older model of a weapon we humans call a gun. While I apologize for not having one that's more up to date, this was all I could find laying around. Of course, this may not seem like a weapon at first, but once I demonstrate its power, everyone will come to realize how dangerous this trick really is." He turned to the princess. "If I could, your majesty, I'd like to borrow someone who is most skilled at a crossbow." Everybody's attention turned to Princess's box. Celestia put a hoof to your chin before waving to one of the guards. Pegasus approached the Sun Princess as she bent down to whisper something to him. He gave her a quick nod and a salute before taking flight and landing before Houdini. "What is your name, soldier?"
"Sir, Drill Sergeant Arrow Point of Her Majesty's Solar Guard, sir!"
Ulysses laughed. "Be it is," he said as one of his assistants came on stage, carrying a horn with a cork in it. "Please allow me to show you how these guns work." He gave the rifle to his assistant, while Houdini gave the guard an audience commentary as to how his assistant was preparing it. Thus, a little bit of gunpowder is poured into the barrel before being firmly placed by the ramming rod. Next, a little wad of paper is added along with a small piece of lead called a bullet. Make sure that all of it is firmly pressed using the rod. Once that is done, thank you. Harry took the rifle into his hands. All that needs to be done is to cock the igniter back until it clicks. Harry demonstrated, giving the rifle off a loud click. You may notice that the small piece of metal is sticking out from underneath. Since the real trigger is too small for pony hooves, we've modified it to be a bit more closely to resemble a crossbow trigger. Arrowpoint nodded and looked over at the bullseye, where the assistant was placing a coconut on the pedestal in front of it. Now, before I hand this over, I should inform everyone here that once this trigger is pulled, there will be a loud explosion, so be sure to cover your ears. As for Drill Sergeant, I should warn you, never pull this trigger unless you are sure the bullet will fire straight at the target. Also, be sure to have the butt of the rifle placed firmly on your shoulder again because it will give quite a kick. The loaded gun was handed over to the Solar Guard, who then stood up on his hind legs in order to hold the weapon. As you can see, Harry pointed to the coconut, your target is, let's say, 35 or 40 feet away. Unless, of course, you want to be closer. Harry added with a cocky smile. Arrowpoint looked at the princess. With a quick nod from her, the sergeant carefully placed the rifle on his shoulder, took a few steps forward. He took aim, lowering his gun as he pointed out towards the coconut. Fire when ready, Drill Sergeant. Trixie covered her ears, as did many of the audience, as the Solar Guard took a moment to focus on the target. Then he pulled the trigger.
Kaboom!
The weapon let off a tremendous boom as everyone in the theater jumped, gasped, or even screamed at the deafening explosion. Not even a fraction of a second later, the coconut exploded into pieces as milk splattered on the stage floor. Arrowpoint had nearly been knocked over, completely shut to the power the small piece of metal and wood produced. Nevertheless, Houdini caught at the performance. "Excellent shot, Drill Sergeant. I would trust you with my life." The audience took this their cue as their applaud. The Solar Guard's first lucky shot with a unique weapon. "Und now?" Manehattan said as his assistants took the rifle away to reload it. "Since we established how deadly this thing is, we're going to do it once more, with a little twist. You will all soon see why this is considered to be the most dangerous trick ever conceived. Do not worry, Arrowhead. I guarantee you be perfectly safe." Um, before we continue, Penn and Teller have come onto the studio, and Penn would like to read a letter given to Harry Houdini and to themselves in regards to this bullet trick.
From the Ministry of Magic. Dear Harry Houdini, please do not attempt this bullet trick. The world cannot lose an important magician such as yourself. To Penn and Teller. Do it!
Thank you. Now, back to your story. Arrowpoint unclapped the marker and took the bullet in one hoof, carefully etching a star on the side of it before giving it back to Houdini, who swiftly placed it in the barrel before pushing it down with the ramming rod. With the gun now reloaded and cocked back, Harry gave the weapon back to Arrow before walking towards the target. "And now, Drill Sergeant, take aim." Causing the otherworldly weapon, the guard eyed the bullseye. But then, to everyone's confusion, Houdini stepped right in front of the target. Trixie raised an eyebrow.
What's he doing?
"I don't know, attempt to catch the bullet,"
Harry proclaimed, "with nothing but my own teeth." A horrified gasp went throughout the theater. They had seen the coconut shattered like a vase under the power of the weapon. Had Houdini gone mad? Drill Sergeant's eyes widened, more reluctant than ever to have volunteered to do this. He glanced at Celestia for guidance, wondering if he should go through with this. "I said, I trust you with my life, Drill Sergeant," Harry said, getting the pony's attention back. "Now see if you trust me." Arrowhead snapped his head to look at the princess, his eyes pleading for her to spare him from such a monumental responsibility. Celestia, however, only had an eyebrow raised. She eventually nodded, allowing him to fulfill Houdini's request. Gulping, Arrow raised the rifle one more time, focusing his aim on Houdini's mouth. "Drill Sergeant Arrowhead," the human said, "that's the gun."
No!
A screech came from the crowd. "Don't do it!" Many others joined in concern.
Fire!
Houdini shouted to the loudspeakers. "You're going to kill him!" "Do it." "Fire's the gun!" "Stop! Don't do it! Think about what you're doing!"
"Don't shoot!"
Riot voices pleaded for the lone guard to stop, standing stock still as he held the loaded rifle aimed at the magician's jaw. Even with years of discipline and constant praise for his ability to see reason, he couldn't see any scenario where the insane human survived the stunt. Especially after seeing the damage that was dealt to the coconut. Closing his eyes, he tried to block out the crowd for a single moment before focusing all of his attention on Houdini. He had seen him escape from a locked milk can, made an elephant disappear, even walked through a brick wall. Hoping that the human knew what he was doing, Arrow took aim and pulled the trigger. Boom! To everyone's horror, Harry flew backwards, his hand covering his mouth, fell over the target, and landed on the sand behind it. "Hey!" Mrs. Houdini screamed, covering her mouth with her hands in sheer terror. There was a pause as the smoke from the gun cleared. Not a single soul dared move, frozen in shock at what they had just witnessed. But suddenly, Mr. Houdini rolled off the sand and onto the floor of the stage. Slowly he stood up, lifting his head and showing up a shiny object in his teeth. As the audience's eyes grew, Harry walked over to the stunned drill sergeant. and spat the bullet into a porcelain bowl that his assistant just handed him. "Is this a bullet?" he asked the solar guard, taking the marked piece of lead out of the bowl. The theater erupted in cheers of sighs of relief.